courtesy of Flow.
K-Man's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. As it may have been, Ms. Katina and her group have booked these sessions on Talk Today way back when, even before we knew there was going to be an early election, even before we knew that today it would have been just, almost the penultimate day before election, it would seem like. So, would you, for my benefit, properly and publicly introduce yourself, title, position, association, and to our listeners? We want to engage you, but we want you to listen first, and then we'll open the phone lines up a little bit later. But Ms. Katina Anglin, your formal title. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon, Cayman Islands. Good afternoon, the District of West Bay, from where I hail. As I said the other night, West is the best. Will always be. And anybody else who want to compete with that, well, let's all step up to the plate so that we can all try to achieve being the best together. So, good afternoon. Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ, our wonderful Lord and Savior. And I just claim in Him for this entire country, right, as our Savior, our Lord, because that's exactly who He is. Amen. And I am ever grateful, no less so today than I've ever been, for the redemptive blood of Jesus Christ that was shed so that I and everybody else who believes in Him can have everlasting life. But there's another benefit to that, right? In that we are here in this world at this time. Everlasting life is for after death. We get to be free and free indeed at this time in our lives, in this world, from the things that had held us in bondage. And so I want to encourage everybody who does not know who Jesus is, who doesn't have a relationship with Him, seek Him, find Him, fall in love with Him, and commit your lives to Him so that things can and will be well with you here and in the afterlife. Because there are those who believe that at the end of this, that's it, it's all done. And I can dare say I would hate, like for hell, for you to find out that you were wrong afterward. Because there's a final destination. You either make it to heaven or you make it to hell.
So in other words, people get ready, there's a train coming?
Yes. And that train has a final destination for you, your ticket you purchase now. And you will arrive at your destination of choice at the time that's appointed for you to arrive there. The great misfortune with this is that we don't know when that time is.
Man knows the hour of the day. Huh?
Exactly. So prepare yourselves, because we will all come to recompense.
At the outset, I shared where we had sat down even last year, booking, and for those who are listening, this is a paid segment on behalf of the Christian Association of Civics and Political Education. And I say that specifically, one, so I know what I'm saying. But secondly, to get to the premise of what you were sharing earlier, that it's important for our country to understand and be involved and engaged and informed and actively participate in this political sort of ramifications, because everything is political and politics is in everything, right? But for some reason, and if I'll be guided by you, it is your segment as it were, but ask about how the church as that building has, again, my view, and respectful as well, has confused people, have sometimes abused people, literally, physically, in every which way, and sometimes play roles as if the pastors, generally speaking, are more political than the politician, right? And seeing how that has done a disservice to many of us in terms of our willingness to fellowship. We talk about do not forsake the assembly of yourselves, right? But yet we see it. So from that vein, as we look at it, how do we get a populace, you just talking about, to engage and to understand the importance. What is it? Seek ye first the kingdom of God. But yet, we see that even the enemy knows Scripture. Or we see how we deceive, how many times it's your own flea that bites you the hardest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The brother man is sitting right to you, next to you on a church pew on a Sunday or Saturday. But I come in the morning or Friday night, he's ready to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a challenge.
Right. And I think even in your statement, you identified some of what has misled the populace for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back and we read the Bible, study it, learn the Word, then we start to see where the deceptions that exist today had been forewarned.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bible tells us that Satan, as you said rightfully, knows the Word, right? He knows that God created man, and he said to man, he said, go have dominion. Dominion. Have power and rulership.
Control over dominion, right?
Yeah. Take authority over the earth and subdue it. This is God's creation in his own likeness and image, all right? And he's saying, you go out there, you act under my authority, you keep control of the earth and all that's in it. God is a never-ending time, God with a beginning of time nor end of time, all right? When he gave us that instruction then, he never withdrew that commandment. He never changed that. That commandment exists up until today. So Satan knows, right, that this is what God instructed us. So, going on, God warned us again. He said, but he will appear as an angel of light. Now, God's not talking about angel, big, white, flaming wings, sword in the hand, sort of character. He's talking about the representatives of God, the pastors and the preachers, the church leaders, those who know the word on the Lord's side. So he says, be wary because he will appear as an angel of light. So you have Satan who knows the word, who's impersonating a pastor, a preacher, church leader. And he says, be wary of the wiles and schemes of the devil.
The wolves in sheep's clothing.
Right. So in Jude, and I love the book of Jude. The book of Jude is, in many Bibles, it's 1 page long. It's one chapter in its entirety, but it's powerful, and it tells Christians in today's world what was going to happen, what is happening, what we need to do as Christians in the midst of all of this, right? Jude tells us, he said, listen, be wary because he's crept in to the church to destroy the gospel from the inside. So what happened with Christians in the political sphere is that the devil stepped into the church and he said, you all shouldn't be in positions of power. You shouldn't be politicians. Mind you, that's a dirty game. You're Christians. You're clean. Don't you get involved with that. You leave that for them people of the world to deal with. You see, he had his plan, right? His plan is to destroy mankind and the world. So he put his own in those seats because Christians automatically accepted this. Most of us did. And we perpetrated this throughout history, where now we believe that we're not supposed to be in politics because that has been taught to us for so long, a type of slave mentality for so long.
But we've heard pastors, preachers, priests, others from the pulpit pronounce that, right?
Yes.
That you can't. So we got a short break. Let's take that.
Yes.
When we come back, I want to ask you about that. I mean, be guided by what you want to share, and maybe talk to the spirit of man from the perspective that we judge each other by the indiscretions, even though we ignore not just the plank in the eye and magnifying the speck in the other, but the other little things that come into play. Maybe we can chat about that. Of course, you guide us, and it's all plays in, right? Because the only other thing that affects all of us, besides politics, is economics.
Yes.
Not just the financial side, but that's the play. All right, Katina Anglin sits with us. She'll be with us until 1 o'clock. This is a paid segment. We will indeed take the calls perhaps later on, so stay tuned. Join us after the break.
a caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Dear people of the Prospect constituency and especially the registered voters, I am Sabrina Turner, your candidate in the April 14th general elections. You've spoken, I've listened, learned, am now willing to work for us. For 17 years living in the Prospect community, working as your community leader, that has allowed me to become an even better person and better leader working with you. On April 14th, I am humbly asking you to vote for me, Sabrina Turner, number 3 on your ballot. Your vote will cement a strong partnership to enact our plans. I am determined to continue building our Prospect and by extension the Cayman Islands into the harmonious and wonderful place we call home. This is my pledge to you. I will be honored and grateful for your vote on April 14th. I am Sabrina Turner, your voice, your hope, your choice, the change you want, the voice you deserve, and together we can and will.
Things just got a bit hotter on the island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
We are in an age of exponential change. The world is experiencing a technology boom where innovation is at an all-time high. What does this mean for small island nations? How can we adapt to the emerging digital revolution? Join 900 delegates from 3 Caribbean countries at one regional event to tackle the theme, Global Digital Disruption, Threat or Opportunity. The virtual RF Economic Outlook Conference happens on May 6th. Register today at rfeoc.com.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
The following is a paid political announcement by Mr. Austin Harris.
Hello, Prospect. Serving you and these beautiful islands is my heart. I have committed myself in service to you so that together we can make a change for the better. We have made a good start here in Prospect, but we need to solve the traffic congestion problem and introduce more speed bumps. We also need to develop a comprehensive floodwater management system while creating greater public open spaces where our children may play. The good news is I have a plan, and together we can achieve it. So, on April 14th, vote number 1, Austin Harris, for a stronger, safer Prospect.
The proceeding was a paid political announcement by Mr. Austin Harris.
Corruption has no place in our society, let alone during elections. During this 2021 election period, we encourage all voters, candidates, and supporters to take the ACT pledge. Put a stop to the misuse of entrusted power for private gain. It's time for a change, Cayman. Be the change. Take the ACT pledge and take a stand against corruption today. For more information or to confirm your ACT pledge, visit anticorruptioncommission.ky. This PSA is endorsed by the Anti-Corruption Commission and the Elections Office.
West Bay North voters, you are invited to a public meeting held by candidate Mr. Bernie Bush, along with guest speakers this Monday, April 12th, 7 p.m. at the Inferno parking lot across from the Sir John A. Cumber Primary School. That's a public meeting held by political candidate Mr. Bernie Bush for West Bay North this Monday, April 12th, starting at 7 p.m. at Inferno parking lot.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. 949-8037, that's a number you got to use in a little bit. But for now, we have the excellent company of Miss Katina Anglin, the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. But as we were going to the break, you were sharing with us, so tell us some more.
Right. So we were talking about Christians in politics and taking their place and so on in the political arena. Someone asked me recently, why have I taken this up? I said, well, tell you the truth, me and God had a little fight about it. I was pulling a Jonah. It's by far one of the toughest tasks that I've had to deal with, but I am grateful. I'm grateful because I see change happening. I see the Christian mindset changing, now beginning to embrace their power as the electorate, asking more questions and becoming wiser. You see, one of the things that Christians did was they said, I'm not supposed to be involved in politics. But you check the voters registration list, all of those who were saying that, right, was engaged in politics, was on the voters registration list and participating in politics. And then they went into the polling booth and they voted really cluelessly because they had really not assessed who their candidates were and so on. And so now they're starting to realize that, hey, I need to put some thought into this. I need to do some participation in this democracy, you know. And I want to encourage voters. You're going out to vote on April the 14th. Hopefully you have your new government on April the 15th. But then your role, your duties and your responsibilities as citizens then kick in. You have the responsibility to support your elected representatives, to attend the meetings that they will host, to ask questions, to share your concerns, to be present. You need to come to the table. We get into this thing where we run in, we put our X down, then we leave these 19 people and expect them to sort out all of the issues without our contribution. And but the minute it doesn't work in our favor the way that we wanted it to go, we say, he should have known better than that. Did you call him? No? How is he supposed to know how you felt about it? Well, he knows me. Let's be real, right? You're talking about 19 people trying to assess the emotions of 60,000 people in the country, more than, to be honest. But anyway, they keep saying that we have some 65,000 people in the country, but it's more than that. And 20-something thousand members of the electorate. Without you coming to meetings, how are they really supposed to know how the general voting public feels on an issue if the general voting public is disengaged by choice from the participation in this democracy that we have here? So April the 15th, not only do the politicians go to work, but the constituents need to go to work too. We need to begin paying more attention to what it is that's going on in the House. You check some of the views on YouTube for the parliamentary sessions, right? And some of them have 13 views. Even if you didn't have time to watch it during the day, you have time in between, sitting having your lunch, Watch it for 20 minutes while you're having your lunch. You're going home. I mean, you're at home. You've gone home. Watch it for another 20 minutes. Put in as much time. Reach out to your politician and say, I wasn't able to get all the information on what you were suggesting. So can you share with me what your full view is or your attempt?
So with that, Ms. Katina, is there then sort of two-pronged approach? As you say, the voters go into the polls. That's the first act of engaging to ensure. And after post-election, the accountability, the involvement to insist that there is a level of engagement from the elected person. But then the person who's elected now needs to ensure that they are accessible. So those regular meetings of sorts, as a community meeting, as a roundtable discussion, not just to get up there and pontificate and to politic and campaign for the next victory, but to take feedback. So it does not come down to our constitution sort of changing the way we elect, changing the way that we engage, and the way we can hold accountable the people that are elected.
Right. So speaking of the Constitution and part of the Constitution, I think it's probably somewhere around 162 of the Constitution, 112 or something. I know it's in the hundreds. That mandates that we have district councils.
Yeah.
So our responsibility as the electorate, right, is when we see that we don't have a district council, we need to get on top of that elected representative and say, listen, you're violating the Constitution, bro.
But isn't it then, let's stick a pin in a sec, right? Our understanding is that this little body, right, that should be so significant, has just about one line in the Constitution. And it's seemingly that it is for the cabinet of the day to appoint it and set it up. So where's the democracy in there? Where's the participation in there? Where is the level for us as electors to say, but this is just nothing more than a rubber stamp, a farce, if that's how it's going to work?
There's also the district council's law, right? And then there are us, and this is the point that we just need to embrace this. We need to accept it. We need to embrace it. We need to act on it, right? And that is this. The people are the check and balance for democracy in every free country.
Right.
All right? So I am about to get a very well drafted, district council plan from one of the representatives, the candidates in West Bay later on today. And I'm very excited to see it because I've been in discussion about it. And I'm very excited to see it because I can hear the effective structure that is set out. Now, if we as the candidates, right? If we as the electorate, if we become a part of this district council, we can't help but succeed.
Okay, all right. So, DJ Lane, is that break ready? Tina, it's like, pow. All right. We got a few minutes when we come back.
Yeah.
And then we wrap it up, all right? All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
And now, a paid political message from West Bay West candidate, Mr. Mario Ebanks.
Do you want ethical and effective leadership? Do you want a member of parliament with a servant's heart who is always trustworthy? Do you want someone who is seasoned, energetic, and prepared for the challenges ahead? West Bay West, on 14th of April, please vote for Mario Ebanks. Together, we can restore dignity, build better communities, and achieve positive change. It's time, West Bay West. It's time.
The proceeding was a paid political message by West Bay West candidate, Mr. Mario Ebanks.
At Subway, we know a meal isn't quite complete without a side, and that's why we're introducing waffle fries. Subway's waffle fries are oven-baked softness with extra crispy edge, giving a satisfying taste to be enjoyed as is or in any of Subway's dipping sauces. Order waffle fries as a side item for $2 or make it a meal deal with any sandwich or salad with a 20-ounce drink and waffle fries for an additional $3 or a 30-ounce or bottle drink and waffle fries for an additional $3.50. Subway, eat fresh.
West Bay South voters, independent candidate Andre Ebanks invites you to a public meeting this Tuesday, April 13th from 7:30 p.m. across from Foster's Republic's West Bay at the corner of Willie Farrington Drive. Light refreshments will be served. For assistance with transportation, call 922-4530. That's a public meeting for West Bay South independent candidate Andre Ebanks. This Tuesday, April 13th, 7:30 p.m. across from Foster's Republic's West Bay at the corner of Willie Farrington Drive.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
My name is Christina Hislop Rowlandson, candidate number 3 in Georgetown East. Vote for me, April 14th. I am the daughter of Mary Lee Rowlandson. My grandparents were from Boddentown. Cayman needs me to deliver on district councils, to improve community living, reduce the costs, to create an efficient environment to reduce traffic congestion. I believe that we can make better, short and long-term decisions that benefit the people. Together, we can do this by implementing social, environmental and corporate good governance, more financial accountability and transparency. To ensure this happens, vote for me on April 14th, number 3 on the ballot in Georgetown East.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
Radio Cayman will be carrying the public meeting of Miss Sabrina Turner, candidate in the upcoming election for the electoral district of Prospect on Tuesday, April 13th from 7 to 9 p.m.
Get up, stand up for your right.
The Ministry of Education provides funding to assist Caymanian children who turn 3 years old before September the 1st to attend an early childhood centre. This funding is available through the Early Childhood Assistance Programme, ECAP. Parents and guardians are now invited to submit ECAP applications for the upcoming 2021 to 2022 academic year. Application forms are available at the Government Administration Building, early childhood centres across the island, or online from the Ministry's website at www.education.gov.ky. For further information, please call the Early Childhood Unit at 244-3155. Completed application forms may be emailed to ecap.ky, that's ECAP@gov.ky, or delivered to the Government Administration Building.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. In a few minutes remaining, a discussion with Ms. Katina Anglin, the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. I tell you, I appreciate it. But you will share with us, and
yeah.
You know.
So continuing on in that train of thought, right? I just want to share, like, from my personal views, because even though I am a member of the board and I'm the public relations officer, I'm still a citizen in this country, entitled to my own views and opinions and so on. And you know, my concerns coming up in the future after the election that I will be closely monitoring are the one man, one vote versus other forms of elections, you know, and This election, I have heard so much disdain by voters who feel disenfranchised. You know, I spent some time talking with a number of them, but there was this one in particular who I couldn't move him to go vote for someone else. And he said, I am not voting. He said, I am not able to vote for who I believe to be the best person to run this country, and I am not voting. And I mean, he was adamant on that, and try as hard as I might, he said, no, that interferes with my democratic right to choose my candidate, and I'm not doing it. So now you have people who are not participating in democracy. Their right to vote is being violated, truthfully. And there are other systems, other options that are available to us, right? And one of those that was proposed was about the national voting system. And I think that's very beneficial to the country as well. And voting for who our premier should be and deputy premier should be, instead of parties picking who they want to put up there.
Let the public
choose who they want to have there, you know. Then the other ones that I have are what I've named the 3 E's, which are the employment enforcements, the education system, and last but not least, the environmental concerns that's in the country. And we're watching this, and it's sensible for us to watch it, right, and to monitor it and to contribute to the discussion about development and environment. And last time I was on, I was talking about sustainable development and whether or not this was truly achievable and so on and so forth. And right now you have this, I think the hottest topic in West Bay at this time is the preserved barcus issue, right? And personally speaking, I rest on the side of the setbacks, because it is a solution to preserving the beach for our use. We can do our camping. We don't have to worry about anybody interfering with that. We all have use of the public beach, and landowners get to retain ownership of land in that area. And one of the reasons why I endorse that vision is because of the constitutional ramifications that could arise. You know, and that is definitely something that's going to catch my eye, because you're looking at constitutional rights and people's right to private property. And case law has taught us that government doesn't have the right to interfere with your private property except in exceptional circumstances. And since there's an alternative that's being offered, you know, now there's really no way to justify a compulsory purchase, because there's another solution that is there that allows you as a private landowner to retain ownership of property, beachfront view, ocean view, and at the same time, it allows me as a member of society to enjoy the beach and the waters in the same view. You have no obstruction, I have none, right? And so I have favored this plan over the alternative of purchasing all of Barcas. I think that's ambitious, but I also think that that's going to prove very, very costly, because who ends up paying for this bill? You're going to have to purchase this. So grandchildren's grandchildren is going to pay for the purchase itself. There will be challenges to the government for private landowners who said, I purchased that, I had a dream, I drew a house plan, or I had an offer to purchase my own, I had a private offer to purchase my land. You're going to have to pay me for what my land is worth, or what my offer was worth. And it could lead to a whole bunch of financial ramifications. Now, I'm up for preservation, but I don't want that preservation to be at the expense of 6 generations down the line who have met up into higher cost of living. Right? And then the alternative was already there, where they could enjoy the same benefits through a different program, you know? So the environmental issue is definitely something I will be watching all across the island, all throughout the country. And we as citizens need to become aware of what options that there are for the government when they're talking about planning permissions and because government can change the zoning of areas, and they can mandate certain stuff. Take, for example, the number of parking spaces for a duplex versus the number of parking spaces for a commercial building. Mm-hmm. All of that is regulated.
Right,
okay?
Right.
So, but we have, as citizens, we have the ability to influence these things, but we must come to the table.
Yeah.
We can't vote and then walk out and leave 19 people to try to figure this all out by themselves.
Right.
They have plans, they have visions. Let's participate in those plans and in those visions. Let's make Cayman better for all of us by each one playing his own role and responsibility and executing his own duty. As they say, many hands make light work. Yes.
Many hands.
In this case, it's certainly one that we need to be doing.
All right. Well, as we wrap it up, rising tide floats all ships, right? So a couple of seconds left, Ms. Coutinho.
Thank you. So I want to say a special good afternoon to Mr. George Chalette out there in Bordentown today. Mr. George, much respect to you, sir. To the new members who have signed on to the Christian Association, for those of you who would like more information on the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education, please visit our website, christian.ky. You can also reach out via email to caymanchristiancivics@gmail.com. Our telephone number is 922-6644, and our registration number is N520. So you can obtain whatever documentation you need from the General Registry regarding the legitimacy of our existence. God bless you, Cayman Islands. God bless each and every one of you voters. May the spirit of discernment fall on you, that you choose the candidates who are best for this country and not be misled by flutter. In God's name, Jesus' name, amen.
All right, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, more talk today.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio Cayman's newsroom. 16 737 MAX airplanes customers have been sent recommendations by Boeing in relation to a potential, quote, electrical issue. On Friday, Boeing revealed that it has reached out to the customers recommending verification that a sufficient ground path exists for a component of the electrical power system of the aircraft. Cayman Islands national airline Cayman Airways has confirmed its 2 Boeing 737-8 aircraft currently in service are not affected by the recommendation issued by Boeing. Turning to international news now, tear gas has been fired and a curfew imposed amid angry protests after police fatally shot a black man in a traffic stop in the U.S. city of Brooklyn Center, just north of Minneapolis. The man has been identified by relatives as 20-year-old Dante Wright. Police Chief Tim Gannon has told media the shooting was accidental. He said on Monday morning, "It is my belief the officer meant to deploy their taser but shot him with a single bullet. The officer is now on administrative leave while an investigation is carried out." The Dukes of Cambridge and Sussex have paid tribute to their grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh. In separate statements, Prince William described him as an extraordinary man, while Prince Harry said he was a man of service, honour and great humour, and the legend of banter. Prince Philip died at Windsor Castle on Friday, aged 99. And Will Smith's slavery film Emancipation is pulled out of filming in Georgia over what the stars called the U.S. state's new regressive voting laws. In a statement issued to Deadline by Smith and director Antoine Fuqua, the pair said they felt compelled to act. "We cannot in good conscience provide economic support to a government that enacts regressive voting laws that are designed to restrict voter access. Some feel the new law will restrict voting by disadvantaged groups." Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you for joining us. In the studio now, candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks. Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Very good indeed. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to all of the listeners, especially those fine, wonderful listeners in West Bay, and particularly West Bay West, but indeed across our three islands and those listening around the world. You know, we have a responsibility when we are on the radio, when we're talking generally, when we're in the light or in the darkness, and especially now with the World Wide Web, we can do a lot of good with talk, and we can do a lot of bad, a lot of harm, and not just a lot of harm in a small area, but we can do a lot of harm around the world. So, you know, leaders and those who want to be leaders and those who claim that they're leaders, leadership is not just a title. Leadership is how we live. And so, you know, I'm here today to talk about the way forward, because I want to say that Mario Ebanks, Mario Eliseo Ebanks, and my wonderful committee and the thousands of people around this island who have been working, praying, and sending well wishes. We are not about hate speech or about lies or about talking about the past. I am a bridge to the future. I am a bridge to a new dawning where young people and those yet unborn will have an opportunity. I'm not about destroying their future now because of greed, as some people are doing. I'm also about sustainable development. And Dwayne, I am contesting this election not because I wanted to, but because I feel led to. And I feel that I've had a call. And I think for a time such as this, we are making tremendous progress. We have tremendous momentum going. And that can only be done by the grace and anointing of God. And we're going to win on the 14th. And so I'm a bridge to the future. My opponent is a bridge to the past. And so he has refused to come out to debate me on two debates, the Rooster Radio debate and the Chamber of Commerce debate. The Chamber of Commerce debate was started when I was the manager of the Chamber of Commerce in 1988, and it's been going stronger ever since. He's refused to come out, but yet he goes on his campaign meetings and in people's neighborhoods and makes a lot of noise and cursing and screaming at people, and he lost his, losing his faculties, I believe, but definitely lost his temper. But yet he wants 4 more years, but he goes on Facebook and WhatsApp and social media, sometimes 3-4 o'clock in the morning, spewing lies as he and his handlers and his enablers are doing yet again. But that's not going to distract us. That's not going to distract me. We are planning for the future. We're all about a better vision, ideas, and solutions. All I would say to him, rather than him wasting time and spreading lies and having a lot of hate speech, spreading venom, as a snake does, he should probably release that video, that CCTV video that is in existence, which was played in a court when he was sentenced as a result of an assault on a defenseless female employee of a place that he is a director of and an owner of on 7 Mile Beach. He should release that video to show the extent of his assault on that young lady that was played in the courts. And if he was a defendant in court, a defendant and their attorneys are entitled to all of the evidence that the prosecution provides. So he has that, or his attorney has that. But if he's so innocent and he's so good, such a big Christian and singing all the time and getting up there and preaching in church and misleading people, release that video, sir. If you're so innocent, release that video and stop going around talking about lies and taxes and what I have done and what not. Talk about what you have done. But you are a bridge to the past. We are a bridge to the future. So today I'm here to talk about our community, Dwayne, and about the future of our country, and about the fact that we need to be better than this. We are better than this. We are, as I said in my speech at a public meeting last Thursday, we have the potential to reignite that bright shining city on a hill. And bright shining city on a hill means the 3 Cayman Islands, which the lights of our city is like a tale of two cities. It's the best of times and the worst of times. We have the ability on the 14th to make some bold, courageous steps, to give some new points of light. They're going to reignite that bright shining city on a hill and not allow those people who want to dampen out the lights and stamp out the lights of that city because of greed and because of selfishness and because of hate. So I have no plan for income tax. I don't know where my opponent gets that from. I have no plan for property tax. And every time he opens his mouth, he can't talk about what he wants to do. He talks about what I suppose to do, which is pure lies. So, as I said, let's move on. Let's move on. 36 years is far too long. I wish the man well. I wish his family well. I have nothing against him personally. He came on this radio show last week and he said to one of your colleagues for the record that I had a circle around my forehead. That to me indicates an inciting of violence, political violence. So this man has been in office for 36 years, but yet he's going to go on public radio, and it's recorded, I have it taped, and talk that kind of reckless talk, but yet he wants 4 more years. Dwayne, it's time. It's time for better vision, ideas, and solutions. It's time for a new generation of leaders in this country to rise up and take charge and do things a lot better. And we can. I mean, I use the word we because I don't like to use I to start with. But we means independent candidates, good people who are prepared, honest, willing, and able, but encircled with all of us around those people to make sure that we work and we get things done. We're not worrying about our own pockets. We're worrying about creating a legacy for this country. I did not come to this race because I want to get rich or I want to make for myself or my family. I came because I want to serve. At the end of the day, whether I'm elected or not, if I'm elected, I've said I'll serve 8 years or 2 terms. And at the end of that time, I want to leave with my head high, knowing that I've left the place better than I found it. And that's what I always do. So I cannot be bothered with small bird-brain talk and lies that people in desperation may want to spew. And I want to tell you this, that is proven that there is a direct link between illiteracy and lying. People who are liars are also illiterate. And we've got to help them to learn how to read and write so they don't have to lie so much. But we're here talking about the bridge to the future. So goodbye, bridge to the past. You know, Dwayne, in terms of public transportation, we see, when I came on the show last week with Mr. Connor, we talked a bit about traffic. And we see last week the traffic was a lot better because schools were out and on Easter break. And we see this week now, schools have started. And just this morning there was a school bus collided with another vehicle. Thank God there wasn't, as far as I understand, school children were not injured or it wasn't to the point where it was something that happened to that. But we have to deal with our traffic problems. And that's what we talk about, the bridge to the future. Not just destroying land and building roads, but doing other non-monetary but effective solutions. Having a quality public transportation system, one that's reliable, one that you can use, like how you have those apps that you can use now for those companies that pick you up. But you'll know when the bus is going to be in your area, and it's reliable and it's well equipped. You know, we got to look at those kind of things. So that is something that we need to talk about, right? But they're not talking about that. My opponent, when he had the Master Ground Transportation Plan in 1989, he and his colleagues killed that plan. So now we don't have any road, and I was the Chamber of Commerce manager then, and I appealed for them to, if they're going to kill the plan because they claimed they couldn't pay for it, you didn't have to pay for it then. All you had to do was reserve the corridors, so we would have the corridors for roads. They didn't do it. Now we're paying the price for that lack of vision. and no ideas and no solutions, but yet he wants 4 more years. He is a bridge to the past. We have to talk about the future. We can't have people stuck in traffic for an hour, 2 hours getting from Northside and East End and Boddentown and Breakers to get to Georgetown. We can't have people going to work angry because of road rage and because of stress. Children having to sleep and eat their breakfast and get ready in their cars in the morning as they go into school, young children. We can't have pollution in our country because of traffic stuck there for miles, spewing fuel and smoke in the air. That's stuff of the past. Let's talk about the future. In my manifesto, we talk about some of these things. And I want to invite all of our listeners to visit our website, which is www.mario4wbw.com. And you'll see some more ideas there as well. The other thing that I want to talk about is community. And I'll talk about our manifesto. But, you know, Dwayne, you were a candidate as well. You ran in 2000, right?
96.
96, right. Mm-hmm. You ran in 96, right, correct. And you know how it is, that the minute that you declare as a candidate, then the calls start to come in for people who need this and who need that. You know what that is, Dwayne? Do you know what that is?
Tell me.
Because they've been conditioned by some politicians in particular. Some politicians who cannot offer solutions or strategic thinking. They only can give handouts and they can only be there as social workers. But what they're doing is they're doing it to be able to control those people. So people feel beholden to them. So they think that they got to get these handouts. Look, people who give out all those things, it's not necessarily their money, you know. Somebody's giving them money to do it. And in some cases, it's government's money that they're giving out. And you're actually hurting people because you're making people beholden. You're taking people's ambition away. And I always believe in giving people a hand up, not handout. There's some people who need help, and we have to help them through the churches, through individual donations. I've done that for years, donations to people and help people. But we have to ensure that the government and MLAs and MPs are not seen to be social workers only and bankers for people only. We have to be able to help people help themselves. Don't give a person a fish necessarily. Teach them how to fish.
Right. We'll have a quick break to take. When we return, we'll continue discussion. Candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks. This is another paid political statement. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Trevor Ewan Foster, 1937-1995. Trevor Foster, a son of Mr. Cappy and Miss Agatha Foster of Cayman Brac, served the Sister Islands as a member of the Legislative Assembly for 2 terms, from 1968 till 1976. He was the first elected member for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman to be elected to Executive Council. During his time as an MLA, he represented the Cayman Islands at several Commonwealth conferences. Trevor was also a retailer who carried on his father's general store and bakery at the Creek, a real estate developer who contributed much to the growth and development of the Sister Islands. He and his wife, Mary Lou, had 2 daughters.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
a caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us in the studio. We have candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks, and you will share with us, sir, as we were listening. Please continue. Huh?
Yes, so we're talking about the bridge to the future. Let's continue talking about that, Dwayne, and thank you very much. For those who are just signing in, I'm Mario Ebanks, candidate, your best choice for West Bay West on Wednesday, the 14th of April in our general elections. And I was talking about public transportation. I was talking about helping people rather than giving them handouts and let them be beholden to politicians or whoever. And when I'm elected on Wednesday, we're going to do a lot of things to reignite that bright shining city on a hill. But one of those things going to be looking at our district councils and getting people engaged. There's so many people in our country, not just in West Bay West or West Bay in general, but there's so many other people that are around this island that are enthused about what we need to do, and they're tired of what we have, and they say they want change. Now, it means that everybody's going to have hands on deck, and we have to work together and amass all of this intellectual capital, or for my opponent, that means brain power. Bring people together to think, to have think tanks and to plan and strategize, and we can do this, right? So we're not going to. I am not, or any of the independents who will form the next government with other good people. We can't do it all on our own. We can't. The task is daunting. We have local issues, international issues, regional issues, and we need to do a proper development plan to see where we're going. Right now we are like, as Paul Keynes Douglas often says, we are at the precipice and we're about to make one bold step forward. And that's not really good planning at all, right? So continuing with reigniting that bright shining city on a hill. In terms of community, adult education and retraining, one of the plans in our manifesto, my manifesto, is that we look at the education system and look at what we need to do with that to protect our children, develop our children, and make sure that we're giving them a strong foundation from those who are joining preschool, and making sure that they're properly assessed for any learning disabilities or any other disabilities, all the way up to those who are at university. Looking at the whole system. But that is the mandatory system for students. What I'm also talking about is for adults. Our schools, school buildings, right? If we want to do, for example, integration of schools, where we say we want to mix people, we don't want to have a situation where we want to have expats in one school and Caymanians in another school. We want to do some mixing, right? And allow people to get funding if they want to go to private schools as well. So we'll have a society that is growing together. But that means that some of our school buildings, especially public school buildings, will be vacant at night as they are now. And if we do integration of schools, we can also do 2 shifts, where, for example, the older children can go to school earlier in the day because they can get up a little earlier. So if you have the high school age children going early in the day, and then you have the younger ones going later in the day, so they go at 1 o'clock until 5 or whatever. So what I'll do is that you'll have the crowds reduced. You'll also have to work out the traffic to make sure that works with people's work schedules. But you'll also ensure that the younger children are in school later in the day and give their parents time to get home from work, that they can pick them up and go to meet them, as opposed now where you have young children that are getting home sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock and the parents are not there, and you have other issues around that. So, and when you do all those things, you can also do adult education, and you can have people learning at school. You can have people learning in the classrooms that people can learn how to read and write and stuff like that. The adults, and again, we're talking about retraining. We're talking about building our people, building our human capital, not just school-age children, but even adults, making everybody stronger, so they'll be able to fight for themselves and help themselves and not be beholding on politicians.
I mean, your point, to sort of splitting the ages and stuff, the only one thing is that with the studies that show that older children need a little bit, more sleep as opposed to younger ones, so maybe they go into school later in the day as opposed to the other way around, but either one works, right?
Well, I think we need to look at it. We need to look at it. We need to look at integrating our schools. We've got to look at trying to use our buildings a lot more effectively, and also trying to ensure adult education. There are people who come to me in the campaign trail and say, I really would like to get some more skills so I'll be able to get a better job and get more money.
Utilizing the buildings much more? Using
the buildings and in the evenings. And I must say, I'll tell you this. Charles, the killer Whitaker, that's not my idea. This is his idea. He said to me, we need to use, and Charles, I know you're in quarantine, but I hope you soon get out, my friend. Quarantine because he's traveling. He was traveling. Adult education, using the school buildings, classrooms, a couple of evenings a week to give our people the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll have people who would be willing to come as guest tutors to help adults learn to read and write, so we can rise all people by that tide that can lift all people. I also want to say that in regard to regional trade, we can do more as well to reignite that bright shining city on a hill. Things like having, and I proposed in my first speech of the campaign, that there's no reason why there's so many people from Isle of Pines, Cuba, here in Cayman, that we couldn't start out with negotiating a flight between Grand Cayman and Gerona, which is the capital of Isle of Pines, with the Saab, the smaller aircraft, and you have maybe once or twice a month flight over there direct, where people can get to Isle of Pines without going through Havana. You could have some regional trade. We could do so many things. Places like in other parts of the Caribbean as well, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica. When I was the Chamber of Commerce manager, we and Mr. Norman Borden was the Minister of Commerce and Trade and Tourism and Aviation. We looked at a trade mission between Cayman and Costa Rica, and there's such great potential, because a lot of the times the products that we get in Cayman come through North America. They're repackaged. You got a middleman in there, or a middlewoman, and that person or that company then adds on their margin, and that the products that we get here then are just the same products, but just a different name and different packaging, but probably 40% higher price.
The quality isn't there because of time lag, right?
Exactly. The quality isn't there. It's not as healthy for you. So we've got to look at trade links between those places, logistics between those places. And so, this is just a menu of some of the things that we have to deal with in our community. And like I said, I do have to talk about some other issues under our family and community law and order section of our manifesto. But I just want to touch on some other areas that relates to community. Barker's Beach. I know you may have some strong feelings about Barker's Beach as well.
Barker's, first off.
Barker's, yeah, call it Barker's. Let's call it the right name, right?
Yeah,
Barker's.
yeah, let's start with
that. Barker's. It's a Caymanian treasure, whatever name you want to call it.
Barker's,
or Barker's. It's a treasure. It's a Caymanian treasure. Now, I know that we got to be careful how we handle it, but we also got to make sure that we reignite that shining city on the hill by looking at what our people want as well, and how we can make it work, how we can engage the landowners, how we can ensure that government's land that's there is utilized properly and is used for the purpose that has been put there for. And this is why we have to stop giving all these large developers and investors and hospitals and all those that are for profit. Stop giving them these sweetheart deals and giving them tax concessions and custom duties concessions and all kinds of concessions, leaving a lot of money on the table for them to take in their pocket And our people, the children of this country, the elderly of this country, the environmentalists of this country, are left to survive on the crumbs. Government departments, people don't have the resources to enforce the laws that the government passes, because the government gives away money to investors and large developers and for-profit individuals, and the country is begging for money and going into debt. That must stop, and it must begin on April 14, 2021. Otherwise, the young generation of this country are going to rise up, and they are going to take matters in their own hands. And I have said publicly, and I say it again on this show, that I am calling on the government in your last couple of days, in last week or so in office, to tell the DART organization, and I'm asking DART organization as well, to come to your senses and pull back that plan that you have to put canals under that bridge just past the Kimpton Hotel in West Bay Road and the bypass. Put a canal underneath there and go into that Kaboo vacant site that you all filled in, all the mangroves, and filled it in for a festival. But now they want to put a turning basin in there for boats and yachts, which will bring the waters of the North Sound and the waters of the 7 Mile Beach within 1,000 feet of each other. That plan cannot work. It will not work. We must not allow it to work. And the government must tell them to stop it. If not, when we are elected on the 14th of April and sworn in the following week, one of our first actions is to engage a DART. And the first thing that I will tell them, look them in the eyes and say, pull that plan back, tear down that wall. like what President Reagan told Gorbachev, tear down that wall. That plan for a canal and a turning basin and canals and blocking off of beach access cannot work, must not work.
If I may then ask you, I don't want to belabor it, but since you put it there, and there was some concerns years ago expressed that with the bridge, that's the only access point into and out of West Bay. God forbid something was to happen. Yeah. There was some discussion that to the west of that, closer to the beach, there was something that could have transpired just in case the bridge was impossible. With this turning basin and this development canal, would that then be off the table? How do you get to and from West Bay?
Good point. So if you bring that turning basin water closer to the 7 Mile Beach, and you had an issue where that bridge was closed off, that will also inhibit traffic and other ability to move through that supposedly alternative road. If you walk behind the Kimpton Hotel now, before I say that, let me tell you this. If we had been thinking long term, and if we've been thinking from the 60s and 70s about how to really map out this country as we're planning it, and if we had put the buildings on the land side and reserve the beach side for boardwalks or for trails, and had your road on the beach side, right? But sufficiently set back so you wouldn't get your roads washed away, and the buildings further inland. We would such a much better model of this country. It really been a shining city on a hill.
Well, we missed it after Ireland too, so.
We missed it. But we made it worse now. By giving the Kimpton the ability to do what they wanted to do, closing off that road that allows a large section of beach to be blocked away from Caymanians and from campers and from just the scenic view that you can see in the morning and in the evening when you go into work. That relaxes you and makes you appreciate living on an island, right? But my opponent and his two running mates in West Bay North and West Bay Central, they were all gung-ho about that. They all did that. So they tell you now they didn't do it. They won't blame PPM, but they did it. But if you go in the back of the Kimpton, you'll see they have a area that is, it's beautiful, right? But it's not practical. It doesn't work. They have a little trail that they have, pavers, and they have some metal balusters, whatever we call them, that can be pulled up in the event of having to use that road to get behind the Kimpton. But that's a small little thing that can probably take one small car in one direction. You can't have two-way traffic in that. So if you had that bridge closed off, you even if you didn't have that turning basin that blocks the other part of the old road off totally, and you try to get through there now with all those barricades that they have, and you have that small area, you take forever to get out of there. If you had an evacuation, you would die before you get in and out of West Bay in that regard. So right now they'll kill us if we have that bridge closed off, and if they put the turning basin there of water and bring in the 7 Mile Beach water and the North Sound water within 1,000 feet of each other, it would cut West Bay off altogether if we had a major hurricane or even a nor'wester, or you had over time rising sea levels because of global warming. I can't understand why anybody or those guys who are in water sports and work in the North Sound would support my opponent and his 2 running mates, because their plan will be the end of North Sound. It'll be the end of 7 Mile Beach. It'll be the end of West Bay. West Bay will be its own country. It'll be a 4th island if they do this. So, they sometimes go out there talking about people cutting and pasting from internet and whatnot. They better just try to read something and take some time to study and stop going off and spreading hate and venom and lies and look at the real issues. The people of this country, Dwayne and listeners, the people of this country, and Mario Ebanks from West Bay West told you this, people of this country are smarter than this. They think that people are fools, They think that people who come to their meetings and blow horns and all kinds of stuff, some of them know better too. But they think that everybody is fool. People in this country, they're not fools. They know what's going on. And I'm hoping and praying that everybody comes out, everybody who can vote, come out and vote on the 14th. Send a clear signal, give the independents and all good people a mandate for a better way forward. I am the bridge, and we can be the bridge to the future. Let's say goodbye to the past and let's go forward with better vision, ideas, and solutions.
All right. We just got a short break to take, sir.
Short break again? All right. Well, make sure you give me that time back now, okay?
Stay tuned.
I keep track of it.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
We are in an age of exponential change. The world is experiencing a technology boom where innovation is at an all-time high. What does this mean for small island nations? How can we adapt to the emerging digital revolution? Join 900 delegates from 3 Caribbean countries at one regional event to tackle the theme, Global Digital Disruption, Threat or Opportunity. The virtual RF Economic Outlook Conference happens on May 6th. Register today at rfeoc.com.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop.
Now you'll never have to choose between 2 desserts at Subway. The new caramel brownie cookie is 2 treats in one. Imagine sweet, gooey caramel with decadent chocolate chunks baked in brownie-flavored dough and topped with a light drizzle of caramel icing. And you have the new caramel brownie cookie available at Subway. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious caramel brownie cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert. Available at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Ouch.
Yeah, the hand sanitizer work good too, you know. Join us
for another See What I'm Saying this Friday. Mosquito 2.
Mosquito bite me.
Okay, Ray, are you ready for another See What I'm Saying?
Yeah, man, we got to continue with the mosquito. So, mosquito 2.
Mosquito 2.
The Eachin.
Eaching. How you spell Eaching?
You know, you had to ask my father. That's what he says all the time. The Eachin. Miss Kiddo 2. The Eachin. Bring your rubbing alcohol.
The sequel to Miss Kiddo 1.
We had so many calls, we got to do another one.
Change stagnant water in every pot. Mosquito can make babies.
See what I'm saying?
Is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Miss Kiddo 2, bring on a rubbing alcohol. Hand sanitizer work good too, you know. The Eachin. Join us. See what I'm saying? April 16th.
It is truly important to our country that the voices of all the people in the Cayman Islands are heard on Election Day. Your vote counts.
April 14th, 2021.
Exercise your democratic right and vote. A public service announcement from your number one community station, Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us in the studio. Candidate for West Bay West, Mr. Mario Ebanks, and just preparing the break, so you were just getting into the mix, man.
I was just getting wound up, and you cut me off.
Just a slight interlude, man.
That's okay, that's all right. I know we need to get revenue for Radio Cayman, and I want to make sure that we do that fairly. But give me some time also. So I was talking about a number of things before we took the break. The regional trade, the Barcas, and but I also want to say to the listeners and to you, Dwayne, that people have said that, oh, my opponent has done so many things, blah blah blah, and he has had a list of all kinds of stuff he has done. Nobody has said he haven't done anything. I mean, if you're there 36 years, you should do something. But a lot of those things are done also with government money, government staffing, government resources. So, of course, you should be doing that. What else are you there for? But if you were to do a balance sheet looking at the assets and liabilities of my opponent, I submit to you that the balance sheet will show a significant imbalance of liabilities, i.e. things are not so good, compared to assets, i.e. things that are good. Let's look at this Caymanian status fiasco of 2003 alone. If you look at that and look at the impact of that, and a lot of people who got that were not eligible for it. I objected to that process, as you remember well, I believe, because I objected, and so did a lot of other people, including the current government who are in cahoots with my opponent. They objected to it because there were some people who deserved it and were eligible, but the many who were not eligible. And the process was totally corrupted because it should have been done by the Immigration Board and not by Cabinet, right? So if you look at that alone and look at the impact of that over the years in terms of our society and other things that happened, and I don't want to go into that because that's another subject for another day. But if you were to do a balance sheet of the pluses or the good things, i.e. assets of my opponent, and the minus or the bad things or the things that are negative for my opponent, you'll see it'll be a tremendous imbalance where the liabilities are much greater than the assets. So when he talks about all the things he have done, then look at that. And one of these days, we will close our case with that analysis of that balance sheet. Youth at risk, Dwayne, is an area I want to talk about just briefly. Our young people want hope. Our young people want justice. Our young people, and I've spoken to many of them, and I wish I had more time to really campaign. And because of my opponent's abysmal record in society and cannot behave, and had to be charged, plead guilty, convicted and sentenced for an assault, and the House wanted to remove him as a Speaker of the House. Because of all that, the government acquiesced for some strange reason and called early elections. But if we had more time until the end of April, I would have got a chance to talk about a lot more things, develop a lot more ideas, get out there and see a lot more people, although I'm there all the time with people, whether it's on visiting or calls or being on the radio to communicate our message, because we have a short time. It's been a very brutal time frame, as a matter of fact. But our young people have reached out to me and they say, look, we're not interested in handouts, and we're just insulted by the way that these guys are talking to us. We want to have the opportunity to get our fair share, get skilled, be able to compete, get fair access to jobs, and have hope in the future. We want justice. And I say to the government, I say to those young people, I hear you, and help is on the way. We're going to give you a chance. We're going to get you out there and skilled, and we're going to give you the opportunity to be involved and work in the community, whether it's in the district councils or elsewhere. We're going to do succession planning for our people. As I said before, I'm committing to 8 years. I'm also, as you know, in my manifesto, we also talk about a 20-year term limit where nobody can serve for more than 20 years. I know my opponent doesn't like that idea too much, and he and his running mates, for some strange reason. But I believe that we need 20 years is a long enough time for anybody. You can give your best 20 years, give it the best, and know when you finish, you can still go out and work somewhere else if you want to work somewhere else, or you can retire and take care of your family. But in my second term, in year 6 or year 7, I will be looking or developing or announcing a successor in West Bay West, so that person can be ready to take over. That's the kind of thing that I want to do. Give young people hope and not close the doors on them. We talked about traffic when I first started, and people have said to me that expatriates, for example, coming in here to work, should not be allowed to buy or import a vehicle. And if they do, there should be limits on that. But that would also drive, or that would also create more demand for public transportation. So you have a much more vibrant market for public transportation, rather than everybody coming in here and they go and order vehicles from Japan or wherever, and before you know it, you have nothing but cars on the island. You can't even get anywhere because of traffic, right? I also announced in our manifesto that in terms of reigniting that bright shining city on a hill, that we look at cultural orientation or a cultural awareness for first-time expatriate workers who coming in here. So somebody comes here for the first time as an expat worker, they have to go through an orientation, look at our culture, our heritage, our history, so that when whatever role they're in, they understand us. And we also understand them. It must be a two-way street, right? But they understand where they're coming, and they understand how we do things in Rome, as it were. And so a cultural orientation, history and whatnot is one of the things that we have talked about as well in our campaign. I want to jump to, in terms of giving hope and being the bridge to the future, looking at second chances for first offences. I think you and I may have spoken about this before, Dwayne, but my opponent, over his 36 years, rather than building proper rehabilitation programs for offenders, rather than providing them with opportunity to be skilled and to change their ways, rather than building rehabilitation programs, they have built prisons. They have built prisons for our people. So we need to give people who have been arrested first time for marijuana an ability to not have their record blemished at that first offense, but they're given probation, they're given community service, they're given opportunity to be rehabilitated and get skills, and that urine test that they take should not be a death sentence for people. It should be a way for them to open the doors for them to get help and to change their ways and to get opportunity to be better citizens. But what's happening with our system we have now is that, and my opponent has been there for 36 years and he has not addressed it, and he's not going to address it again because he's going. They have been sentenced and their careers have been destroyed. They can't travel. And I'm saying to those people, we want you to be able and productive citizens. We're going to help you. We're not going to destroy your record, but you have to help yourself also. And those expatriate workers coming here who are coming from countries where marijuana is legalized will also have to abide by our rules. Otherwise, their permits could be cancelled as well if they don't abide by our rules and get treatment. Children with special needs. One of the most impactful things I have done in this campaign, my friend, is we had a session a couple of weeks ago with a group called Inclusion Cayman. And we had probably 5 or 6 mothers of special needs children give us as candidates. And I was a candidate there for West Bay West. I didn't see my opponent. Maybe he went, but I didn't see him. And these mothers gave us these heart-wrenching testimonies of their struggles with children with special needs, wonderful, loving children that they have, and others. I didn't realize there were so many of those in the country. But the struggles that they have with getting them into traditional schools and getting them proper help and getting them to be included and having insurance for them that will allow them to get their assessments, will get their help. And we need to do better than that. And that's why our health insurance plan will be revised and revamped and overhauled and improved, where it provides proper insurance coverage for employees, retirees, the elderly, indigent, school children, and children with special needs. Everybody's going to be covered, but it's going to have to be a whole new system where you can't have every single insurance company who wants to offer insurance to do it in the country. They're going to have to be 2 or 3 that are licensed to offer these products, and you're going to have a sharing of the responsibility between the employer and employees to provide these benefits. And when people retire, you also have a scheme where you have post-employment or retirement health insurance, because no use of retiring and drawing a small pension, and before you know it, your bill pension is only paying your health insurance premiums, and if you can get health insurance at that age. So we need to do better than that. And that's the bridge to the future that I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, reigniting that bright, shining city on a hill. These are the kind of things that we can do, but we can only do it if we elect competent people who have the time and interest and the ability to work with people to get things done and not worry about hate speech and venom and vindictiveness. Let's work together. That's what God put us here for. There's an anointing on our cause, and we have to listen to that anointment, that anointing, and let's do it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I use scripture in my speeches and in my talks, because I believe that we need to look at where we came from. And I believe that, as it says, who will go for us and who will stand for us? And I said, here I am, send me. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going forward for. I'm not going forward because I want power. Me and my wife would be perfectly happy doing what we're doing now. And done for the last 35 years, working in the community, enjoying life, being with our family, helping out people. But I feel the call to come forward, and I've done so. If on the 14th of April, the people of West Bay West decide otherwise, and I'm not elected, look, it's not the end of the world for me. They would have made a big mistake, but it's not the end of the world for me. I go on. Thank God, I'll be able to go on, and I'll find something to do here or somewhere else. But I'm praying and I'm hoping and I feel that they're going to make the right choice based on what they're saying and what they're doing and how they're behaving, and I believe we're going to do it. But don't leave anything to chance. We have a big job ahead in the next few days, and we have to do it. Every single one of you across this country has a responsibility. If you want change, do what you need to do to bring about change. We are change makers. We are the bridge to the future.
All right. With that, let's pause quickly, take a short break. Stay tuned.
And now, a paid political message from West Bay West candidate, Mr. Mario Ebanks.
Do you want a member of parliament with proven experience and competence? Do you want someone who has always been passionate about promoting Caymanian skills and training? Do you want a servant leader who is committed to law and order? West Bay West, on 14th of April, please vote for Mario Ebanks. Together, we can restore dignity, build better communities, and achieve positive change. It's time, West Bay West. It's time.
The proceeding was a paid political message by West Bay West candidate, Mr. Mario Ebanks.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio. Enjoy your mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall,
urban gospel.
The Super Jam Show is
brought to you by these kind sponsors.
The Cayman Islands Football Association, CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Cayman Insurance Center. Don't take chances with your family's future.
The University of the West Indies Open Campus.
Find your place in the Cayman Dream today. The UWI Open Campus, on-site, online, and on demand.
Visit open.uwi.edu. Call them today at 946-8322. Train with Dre. Train with Dre's lunch weight loss program. Get your meals right and lose weight today. No excuses, no gimmicks. Call Dre today at 928-3420.
The Super Jam on Radio Cayman.
Blue Marlin Restaurant. Takeout on Eastern Avenue. Delivery and catering.
Food is awesome.
Call 947-4752 to place your order.
The #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
We are in an age of exponential change. The world is experiencing a technology boom where innovation is at an all-time high. What does this mean for small island nations? How can we adapt to the emerging digital revolution? Join 900 delegates from 3 Caribbean countries at one regional event to tackle the theme, Global Digital Disruption, Threat or Opportunity. The virtual RF Economic Outlook Conference happens on May 6th. Register today at rfeoc.com.
The Ministry of Education provides funding to assist Caymanian children who turn 3 years old before September the 1st to attend an early childhood centre. This funding is available through the Early Childhood Assistance Program, ECAP. Parents and guardians are now invited to submit ECAP applications for the upcoming 2021 to 2022 academic year. Application forms are available at the Government Administration Building, early childhood centres across the island, or online from the Ministry's website at www.education.gov.ky. For further information, please call the Early Childhood Unit at 244-3155. Completed application forms may be emailed to ecap@gov.ky, that's ECAP@gov.ky, or delivered to the Government Administration Building.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the studio for West Bay West candidate Mario Ebanks. Hey, thank you very much, and as we were listening to the commercials, recognizing that we advertisers are very special, so we thank them for, reaching the widest audience through Radio Cayman. And to you, sir.
I don't mind taking the breaks to hear. One of those commercials I heard during the break was fantastic. I don't mind taking breaks to hear that one, but well, a lot of breaks. You know how I call this the show with breaks. But anyway, I understand. You got to make some money. So when we took the break, I was talking about a second chance for first offenders and cultural orientation and children with special needs. I also think that for the elderly, that the Needs Assessment Unit, the NAU, needs some serious reform. And we also need some reform in social services and family services in general. There's a lot of need. We need to probably have assessments done. But politicians, it's not good for politicians to just send people to NAU and say, go there. But politicians need to also ensure that NAU have the resources, but also the policies around what they need to do to not just give people handouts, but to give them hand-ups. And this is where the difference comes in, where you have politicians versus leaders. You have career politicians versus leaders, where you're going to look at the whole situation, find a solution to it, look at the strategy, look at the policies, look at what the mission of the organization is, and then give them the resources to do that policy that's been approved. That takes a little bit more time, takes a little bit more brain matter, but that's the way to do it. Otherwise, you can just have a revolving door, and people are not going to be helped. They're going to be helped today, but tomorrow they're going to be back to looking for handouts again. And I think that obviously during the pandemic is a different situation, because you had, the economy was shut down in tourism sector, and people still have a lot of needs. But I think we need to look at where we're going with this and make sure it's properly done. So children need help and elderly need help. We need to give them proper help that's going to help them and not just make them have a dependency kind of mentality. In West Bay also, I want to bring hope, and I want to reignite that bright shining city on a hill by having a hurricane shelter and a multipurpose civic center or community center. We've been talking about that for a long time. My opponent's been there for 36 years. They bought land. They had a groundbreaking for a couple, maybe 2 groundbreaking ceremonies, but nothing. And so if you have a hurricane, you have an issue, and other districts have it, and West Bay needs to have it, and I'm committing to it, and we can do it. We'll find the funds. We'll make sure that we give less sweetheart deals and giveaways of concessions to large developers and investors, and get some money to put into our hurricane shelter and multipurpose facility in West Bay. In our manifesto, in my manifesto, in the area of family and community law and order, and again the manifesto can be seen, a lot of other stuff can be seen on our website, which is www.mario4wbw.com. You'll see, you can read some more about all this and about, some of my opinions, some of my bio, and a lot of other wonderful stuff on that website. But in the family and communities area, we talked about we're going to do a Family and Communities Empowerment Act, or a law, which will promote and empower the youth, families, encourage responsible parenting, which is very important because the schools and the police cannot do the job of parents, right? And also inspire resilient and safe communities. And it also talks about creating parks, recreation, and neighborhood cottage industries. Cottage industries, small micro businesses in the districts, is something that we need to promote and help organize, and make sure that it's done in accordance with proper zoning within the neighborhoods as well, to make sure that people have said to me that you have some neighborhoods that you have people doing mechanic garages in the middle of a neighborhood. You have people who are creating tenement yards where they have these little houses behind their home, and you have cars on the roads, and you have all kinds of other issues going on. We know people need to have additional revenue, but they also can't. They got to abide by the laws, right? So these cottage industries, these micro businesses in neighborhoods must be done with proper zoning and also within the covenants of those neighborhoods. Like I said, when I drive around and visit around, especially during this campaign, people have said to me, showed me things where it's totally unacceptable what's going on in some neighborhoods. But we can do it. But we have to address it and stop being politically expedient. Do want to talk to people and try to give excuses. We have to address it. So in our manifesto on the family and communities law and order, you'll see more about community policing, and you see more about those kinds of areas. The young people need to be given the skills of entrepreneurs. And I've seen some wonderful ideas of cottage industries in West Bay West, where people have local made juices. They have cakes and pies. They have agricultural products, fruits and vegetables. They have crafts, all kind of wonderful things that can be done, right? And we need to encourage that. Build entrepreneurial spirit amongst our people. I was the president of an organization called Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is a program that Rotary Club started in Cayman and is done with the schools, where you get school-age children and you give them a responsibility where they form separate companies, and you have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer,
all the officers in that.
All the officers, right? And they run a business, run like a business, and they make a product or a service, and they go out and sell that. And at the end of the year, they got to produce a report, and then they have awards for them to get locally and also overseas. That builds entrepreneurial spirit amongst our young people. Wonderful programs. And again, I mean, that's the kind of stuff we got to do and stop with this hate and hate speech and venom that people are spewing out in this campaign. Let's get over that. That's the bridge to the past. We're about to bridge to the future.
All right. With that, let's pause and take our headline news at 2. When we come back, we'll continue with Mario Ebanks, candidate for West Bay West.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Several new services are now available at the Smith Road Centre, where HSA has opened a modernized and spacious specialist clinic that doubles the capacity to serve patients requiring these specialized services. Officially opened with a ribbon-cutting ceremony on April 8th, the clinic has 21 clinical rooms, enhanced exam and treatment rooms, and provides a more efficient layout that supports team-based care. Turning to international news now, one person was killed and another injured after a shooting in front of a private hospital in Paris on Monday, a police source told CNN. The source said the attacker fled the scene outside the Henry Dunant Hospital using a two-wheeled vehicle. A motive is not yet known. The Paris prosecutor's office told CNN it has launched an investigation into a murder and attempted murder following the shooting. The efficacy of Chinese COVID-19 vaccines is, quote, not high, and authorities are weighing options to bolster protection, including mixing different shots, China's top disease control official has said. He listed two options to solve the problem. One is to increase the number of doses or adjust the dosage or interval between shots. The other is to mix vaccines developed from different technologies. And Boeing announced a new problem with the troubled 737 MAX. This time the issue is with its electrical system. Airlines need to verify that one of the components of the plane's electrical system is sufficiently grounded, Boeing stated. The company said it is working with the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration to address the problem. The company said Boeing has recommended to 16 customers that they address a potential electrical issue in a specific group of 737 MAX airplanes prior to further operations. Boeing did not identify which 16 airlines are affected by this alert or how many of the planes are affected by the problem. Those are your latest headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as we continue the discussion with candidate for West West, Mr. Mario Ebanks, still about 2:15.
All right, wonderful. So when we took the break, we were talking about young people and entrepreneurs, and I want to just continue with talking about young people a bit.
Mm-hmm.
School children are going to be graduating from high school and college soon this year. Some are doing virtual classrooms, some are doing cyber classes here and overseas. So what are we going to do about those people, those young people? And I just want to say that today I have kind of danced around a number of different topics. I've been like what our friend Muhammad Ali talked about, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I've been just jumping in a couple of different areas around nation building and around reigniting that bright shining city on a hill by tapping on a number of community-based issues. So I hope that you and the listening public are able to follow as I float around like a butterfly and stung like a bee today.
Because the motto was stick and move, boy.
Stick and move. That's right. So our school children graduating from high school and college this year, what are we going to do about them? What opportunities do they have? Are we thinking about them? Are we thinking about placement of them? Are we thinking about the fact that businesses are growing? Some businesses are growing. We don't have the market available now for expats coming in because of quarantine and COVID. Let's give our young people a chance. Let's reawaken our care for our young people, and let's go out there and give them the opportunity and give them the mentoring, give them jobs, and provide on-the-job counseling and help for them. They can do it. And I'd say to the young people and the parents of these young people that if you vote for Mario Ebanks on 14th, West Bay West, I'll just say hope and help is on the way, because we hear you. I cannot forget the things that people have said to me over the years, but especially in the last 5-6 weeks, and we hear you. Another issue that I've heard, and I jump around again, is the Public Transport Board. The public transport system that governs the buses and stuff that provide transportation around this country. I'm hearing horror stories about the Public Transport Board, and it needs reform. They need some sensitivity and training, and they need to ensure that the passengers of the busing system get a good product, but also those who operate get fair play. And I'm hearing that there's a lot of bad things happening there. And once we're elected, we're going to add that to our discussion and our resolution. And so I just say that say no to my opponent who wants to promote at least 100,000 people population, but say yes to Mario Ebanks, West Bay West. Say no to my opponent who has no development plan for the country and doesn't like one, but say yes to Mario Ebanks, who has a plan and a recommendation and a dream and a vision to do a national development plan, which I am calling Vision 2050. Say no to my opponent, who is supportive of darts, concrete jungle for this country, and who is supportive of a bridge underneath the bypass, opening up canals and going into a turning basin and bringing the waters of the 7 Mile Beach and North Sound within 1,000 feet of each other. Say no to all that nonsense. But yes, on 14th of April, say yes to Mario Ebanks for West Bay West. You know, our website, as I mentioned, Dwayne, is www.mario4wbw.com, and a Facebook page, similar name. And, you know, I can see in as that song that will Come Back Home, that wonderful song that was written by Mr. Mike Taggart and has been sung so beautifully by Swanky and other bands on Ireland. I can see, Come Back Home. I can see our home port. Our home port is the House of Parliament. I can see it in the sight now of our ship from the bridge. I can see the home port. And I've tried in this campaign, as some other campaigns in the US have said in recent times, when they go low, we go high. And we have tried to operate our campaign, and I've compared the eagle to the snake in many occasions. The eagle picks up the snake and keeps him in midair, and the snake can't operate in midair. The snake operates much lower down. And so when we are faced with lies and a lot of hurtful things and a lot of venom, a lot of hate speech, when they go low, we go high. I want to thank everyone who has supported and who have prayed and who have volunteered for us during this campaign. It's been a very tough time, and it's not yet finished. A lot of work to do between now and the close of the polls on Wednesday. But my dynamic campaign committee, my family, especially my brothers and my sister Sonia, my wife and her family, everyone who welcomed me into their homes and welcomed other people who went with me as well into their homes. And unfortunately, at the time did not allow for me to visit everyone in West Bay West. I've been moving around for years, as you know, with working with people who are bereaved, attending funerals for years, speaking at funerals, doing obituaries, doing tributes, visiting people, helping out people. But during this short period of the election, and the election was in the time frame was made shorter because of the government accommodating the speaker who didn't have the support of the House to remain as Speaker. But I want to tell people that many times I went to people's home during the day and they were out working, so I didn't get to see them. But I left my card, I left our brochure, and people have called and we've had some conversation. But I will not forget. I will not forget what I have seen and what I've heard on the campaign trail. I've made notes of a lot of things, and I'll never forget it. Whether I'm elected or not, I'll never forget it. There are some wonderful things happening in our community, but also a lot of things that need to be addressed, all the way from the young people, the infants, to the elderly. I want to also thank the churches, the prayer warriors, and the concerned citizens, the young and the old, the voters and the non-voters across these islands who want positive change, who've called me, who've offered to assist, and who are also calling people and talking to people and canvassing. My wife and I want to thank you all of you, from the bottom of our hearts, for all the work that you've done. And I can only say to you, in repayment, I can only tell you that hope and help is on the way. If I am elected on the 14th, I will work hard. I'll not let you down. I'll not embarrass you. And with your vote on April 14th, change can come. Change can come from the coast of Northwest Point in Grand Cayman to the bluff edges of Spot Bay in Cayman Brac. Change can come. But the change can only come because the answer is in your hands. When you pick up your pen or pencil on election day and mark your ballot, that's the only how the change can come. So on Tuesday night, my friends, we have our final public meeting or rally starting at 7:30 p.m. at the Club Inferno or Hell parking lot. And in that meeting tomorrow night, we're going to submit our final closing arguments, and we're going to rest our case. Then on Wednesday, 14th of April, the next day, the voters of West Bay West can be the judge and they can be the jury. I will respect the fair outcome of the vote. The fair outcome, F-A-I-R. I hope my opponent will do the same. It's time for change, West Bay West. Yes, it's time. We can do it. Yes, we can. God bless you. And to my Spanish colleagues, bendiciones en Dios le bendiga. We are a good people. We have a good country. Let's just make it better. Mario Ebanks and our committee for West Bay West, we are the bridge to the future. Let's say thank you to the bridge to the past. Green, appreciate it.
Igualmente, señor. Thank you very much, man. Mr. Sí. Well, bonito, bonito. All right, that's Mario Ebanks, candidate for West Bay West. Thank you again for your time, sir.
Thank you.
And to you and all the candidates, for being a respectful, civil people as we are, and as voters we engage, en masse come Wednesday as we go to the polls. No need.
And peaceful, non-violent, responsible campaigning and utterances. I commit to that, and I ask my opponent to do the same.
Amen to that. With that, we'll pause and take a break. When we come back, we invite you to rejoin us. We have another candidate waiting in the wings. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Put your hands for the progressive. Serving you is the objective.
This is Roy McTaggart, and I have a personal message for my constituents in Georgetown East. This election will determine the future prosperity of the Cayman Islands for many years to come. How we manage our affairs in this time of crisis will determine the success of our national recovery and the quality of life for us all. As leader of the Progressives-led Alliance, I give you my personal undertaking to continue to be decisive but caring, to bring new opportunities for these islands while making sure that no one is left behind. In order to do this, I really need your vote on April 14th. I pledge to continue to protect lives and restore livelihoods. With your vote, it will be my honor to represent you once more. I therefore ask you to vote for Roy McTaggart, number 5.
This is a paid promotion by the Progressives.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vant Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vantmotors.com or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
West Bay South voters, independent candidate Andre Ebanks invites you to a public meeting this Tuesday, April 13th from 7:30 p.m. across from Foster's Republic's West Bay at the corner of Willie Farrington Drive. Light refreshments will be served. For assistance with transportation, call 922-4530. That's a public meeting for West Bay South independent candidate Andre Ebanks. This Tuesday, April 13th, 7:30 p.m. across from Foster's Republic's West Bay at the corner of Willie Farrington Drive. There's nothing like the smell of freshly baked bread. The warm, inviting aroma, the fresh and natural taste, just like homemade. 100% all-natural, additive-free bread.
Enjoy fresh and natural-tasting bread from the iconic Caribbean Bakery. Always delivered fresh to your favorite supermarkets island-wide. Forget the imported frozen and thawed, and enjoy our freshly baked selection of quality breads and pastries.
Try our classic white and wheat sandwich breads, coconut and raisin breads, hamburger and hot dog buns, and a great selection of pastries. Feed your family fresh with Caribbean Bakery.
Dear people of the Prospect constituency and especially the registered voters, I am Sabrina Turner, your candidate in the April 14th general election. You've spoken, I've listened, learned, am now willing to work for us. For 17 years living in the Prospect community, working as your community leader, that has allowed me to become an even better person and better leader working with you. On April 14th, I am humbly asking you to vote for me, Sabrina Turner, number 3 on your ballot. Your vote will cement a strong partnership to enact our plans. I am determined to continue building our Prospect and by extension the Cayman Islands into the harmonious and wonderful place we call home. This is my pledge to you. I will be honored and grateful for your vote on April 14th. I am Sabrina Turner, your voice, your hope, your choice, the change you want, the voice you deserve, and together we can and will.
The Ministry of Education provides funding to assist Caymanian children who turn 3 years old before September the 1st to attend an early childhood centre. This funding is available through the Early Childhood Assistance Programme, ECAP. Parents and guardians are now invited to submit ECAP applications for the upcoming 2021 to 2022 academic year. Application forms are available at the Government Administration Building, early childhood centres across the island, or online from the Ministry's website at www.education.gov.ky. For further information, please call the Early Childhood Unit at 244-3155. Completed application forms may be emailed to ecap@gov.ky, that's ECAP@gov.ky, or delivered to the Government Administration Building.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the studio now. We have the company of Mr. Justin Ebanks, candidate for Northside. Justin, it's a pleasure to again welcome you in this capacity as well. So good afternoon to you.
Mr. Sterling, thank you for having me on today. Thank you to all the listeners for taking the time to listen to this show. As it is very important, the election is only 2 days away, and it was a short election. So we had to work harder, faster, and get as much as we can out into the public in just 6 weeks. And you know, the thing is with this is that I actually work full time while campaigning. So it takes a lot out of me. So I'm getting pretty tired now. So looking forward to having Wednesday and, you know, being able to win this election would be good for me. Yeah. And I think it'd be good for Northside.
Well, if you look tired, if you say you're tired, you look tired. So that shows a resilience and a resolve, a commitment and dedication. So keep it up, my friend.
Yes, part of being, I guess, being a younger candidate, I have the dexterity. It takes a little longer to get me worn out. But you know, I'm here today just to talk to the people of Northside, people of this country, to just go over what this process is. Mm-hmm. This is just a process. 4 years from now, this process starts again. But I think that Cayman being as small as it is, we have to start working together more. There's too much division that's coming from politics, and it's taking away the true essence of what this is all about. Mm-hmm. You know, Northside is a very small district, and we're seeing division in Northside, and it's not going to be productive for us to move forward or get anything done. Mm-hmm. We have candidates that meet at the same night, at the same time. That causes division. We've noticed that less and less people come out to public meetings because they feel that they'll be identified and victimized, they'll be judged, and it makes this process that much harder because the whole process is for the people, it's about the people. Our job as candidates is to convey our message, take questions from the crowd, be able to answer questions. That's what this is all about. We're not elected yet. So we can't be held accountable for what has happened for 4 years or what hasn't happened in 4 years. We never got elected. We're candidates. Now the incumbents have a lot more questions to answer because they were elected. They had the power and they were given the opportunity and the chance to create create what was needed for the district for those 4 years. I'm a candidate. I have to go out and identify situations, identify problems, listen to families, and be able to give them solutions, find solutions, and be able to show them that I've been qualified over the years in the capacity of the jobs that I've had to be able to handle this position. And, I've spoke about division, and it comes from politics. And what we've seen in Northside, unfortunately, is that representation has been unsuccessful for the last 12 years in government. 2009, there was a UDP government. Representation was unsuccessful working with the UDP. 2013, PPM is at the helm. Representation was unsuccessful working with the PPM. 2017, chance given again, they were unsuccessful working with the opposition. We cannot change 18 members in Parliament for one person to be successful. I think it's time to change that person so that Parliament can be more successful and the district can be more successful. When we have politicians that don't work well with the private sector and they're not approachable, they don't communicate with the people of the district, they're not open to receive information from their people, they can't get the job done right. This whole process is about negotiation and cooperating with the private sector, the members of Parliament, and the people in the district. To do that, you have to be engaged with the people. I planned on doing an advisory council, and how that differentiates from the district council is that it allows me to bring people on board that might be from the district. I have a lawyer on board that's willing to give free legal advice to all Northsiders. I have bankers on board. They will give free banking advice to the people of Northside. And I can add people from the district at any time. The district council is done by election. The district council has been politicized. Unfortunately, we've even seen today where some of the candidates that were on the district council are now running against the incumbent. When we have too much politics involved in everything, we lose the essence of what it's for. The advisory council will be more open for people to join at any time and come off at any time. It's not holding you, against a corner because you're on the wrong side. It opens it up because I'm trying to bring back more harmony and unity in the district. We're too small to think small, and it's time to start to think that there's more we can do to build our futures, and that's what my campaign is about, the future.
With that, as you the Justin Ebanks, candidate for Northside, what is that vision for the future? I mean, and what are some of the pressing challenges right now facing Northside in particular?
Development has grown throughout the Cayman Islands. Very little development has come to Northside. And we don't want to have Northside overdeveloped, but we haven't had much development in itself in Northside. The people of Northside live the furthest out from most developments, Georgetown, West Bay. So we have to commute further out. And when we have to look at the fact that Northsiders are competing for jobs just like anyone else. If I try to fix Northside by itself, I most likely will have a much harder task. If I can turn things around on a whole scale for this country, such as education, we then open up more avenues for our young people and our existing working force to get better paying jobs and be able to compete for jobs. Right now, the private school and public schools compete with each other, and then you have work permit holders competing with both of them. New hospitals are being built. We're not teaching x-ray technicians, nurses, doctors, lab technicians, pharmacists. We're sticking ourselves in the same scenario of financial institutions, tourism. We've just seen where tourism has taken a hit, and we were unable to be able to adapt to new positions because we left ourselves stuck in one aspect of this business, of the business community of Cayman Islands. So for Northside, specifically building on educational programs, not just for the young people, for farmers, we can teach aeroponics, aquaponics, hydroponics, teaching farmers how to grow more successful with the resources that they have, and by using crown land for farmers to farm on, expands their ability to farm. That's one aspect. Helping the elderly understand the options that they have. Many of them stay at home, don't get to communicate much with people outside the district due to lack of transportation, lack of communication. And let's face it, people are really going through some hardships right now. I've seen families that just need a little help, just a little help. If one more person in the house is employed, that turns that whole family around. One more community event that they can get involved with their families to build some more socializing in the district opens up avenues. But the district, again, has had very little engagement for people to be able to be involved in. We haven't had much job drives for Northside. And what we don't see in Northside right now is active committees that are productively getting things done for Northside. This is not a one-man job. This is a job meant for the people to help themselves and to change their own country and future. And that comes from representation, not leadership. We have to identify that Representation is simply just that. It's just that. It is someone being the focal point for the people, being a champion for their needs, and being able to negotiate and cooperate with members of parliament. That is the most important thing to take from this. The person you elect has to be smart enough, mature enough, strong enough. They have to have good morals, and they have to understand at the end of the day, it's never about them. It is always going to be about the people. Bringing back real representation where people can get behind and be supportive would change a lot for Northside.
And as we listen to Justin Ebanks, candidate for Northside, I mean, as you said, we got today and tomorrow campaign. We go to the polls on Wednesday, and then come Thursday, we'll all know, who's elected or not. As you move it forward, you're talking about a national vision, a collective sense of unity, and building a stronger community. Tell us more, man. Tell us where you want it to be.
Well, on a whole scale, overall, I think we should have a national election. I think a national election gives everyone in this country to have a say in what takes place in this country. We are too small to think small. A national election will allow us to be able to pick people from each district, because we have to identify members of different districts have more power than others. Northside and East End are the two smallest districts. We have the least amount of political power because there's one representative and a smaller population, whereas the bigger districts have more candidates that make more decisions that impact our lives. I think a national election with term limits. We never had term limits years ago because the population was too small. We can identify that our population is growing to enough where we have enough educated young people willing to step up to take over their part in this country. But these older senior politicians have to pass the political baton. They have had their way. They have tried their way. Times are changing, right? John F. Kennedy said that change is the law of life. Those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. And we're now seeing where these older politicians just don't know how to adapt to today's world. They're unable to be able to change things that have been hindering for 20 years, and they can't find solutions for current events. What we need to do is identify the world as move forward. You have younger scientists, younger doctors, younger CEOs. We're now experiencing that the COVID-19 vaccines and the technology to help with COVID-19 came from young engineers, young scientists. We just need to be able to open our minds up on election day, that there's so much more possibilities for this country, but we have to want it, we have to work towards it, and we have to identify where we can do it. That comes through politics. National election, term limits really opens up the chance for this country to start to produce more for itself.
And as you speak, I mean, I can see you're sharing relative to the issues affecting Northside on a district level, but then also you speak and allude to like transportation as a national issue, taking 3 hours we gather, each day, each way, to and fro. I mean, that must be a toll.
Yeah, and again, going door to door and speaking to families, I identify solutions. It's not all from me. I had, some people have come to me from the district, and they said, Justin, if we had a national, proper public transport, it would alleviate so much stress on families. I mean, government will own the buses, hire the drivers. That's another employee for the government. That's a paycheck. That's structured. They'll then have proper routes that are run on time every day, so people can actually identify that they can be out catching the bus. They can park their cars if your car is giving trouble. If you're going through disparity, job loss, economic downturn, you don't have a car to drive, you can still get to work on public transport. Having more people in one vehicle reduces traffic. But I also spoke about having more satellite offices in Northside and Eastern districts for government entities. Networking government resources and networking government systems helps us to get more things done in smaller facilities and branch them out. We've been the district that time forgot. Again, people in Northside want to get involved. It's just a division has separated people from being able to get involved. And we politicize too much. I mean, there was a time where I was asked to be in the PTA by Mr. Miller. And I heard him make a comment a few weeks ago, and it wasn't correct. He asked me to come out to be on the PTA. He said he wanted me to come because, he think I'd be a good asset to the PTA. My daughter was going to that school, but it was politicized. When I got to the PTA meeting, he had already identified who was going to be in what positions. When I was asked to be president, I said to him, no, I declined. I think the person that was vice president before me should naturally progress up. And at that point, it was settled. Everyone knew exactly who was going to do what. That is not true democracy. You cannot sit down and put people in place and where you want them so you can control them. The problem I had in the PTA is that if you didn't do what he wanted the way he wanted it, it wasn't going to happen. So I can identify where Northside has been led the wrong way because he creates enemies where they don't exist, and he tries to control too much things on his own, and that tears down the natural progression of people getting involved and doing their part. I mean, just a few months after the election, I was removed from the PTA, and I was only asked to join the PTA in election year. So it seems that I was already put behind the 8 ball when I was trying to give back. Again, you don't get to see the true essence of proper community involvement when one person or two people try to hold everything at the helm for themselves. We don't get a proper course steered.
Okay. I was speaking to Justin Ebanks, Northside candidate. So when we're looking at the population growth, there is much now that's being talked about, 100, 200,000 people. Your views on that?
No, we're at 65,000. 65,000 people in this country, roughly 33,000 are Caymanian. We can identify now that we've gotten to that threshold where we're just sustainable. The more people we put here, the more strain on the economy, the more strain on the ecosystem, and we don't have land for people to own anymore. The younger people in this country, years from now, are going to have to fight twice as hard to own land and own homes. How can we identify bigger population when the current population are falling behind? NAU has 13,000. Are we going to ever transition them from NAU to back on their feet? We have to identify that government is spending too much money now on helping these people stay at that level. We can't keep dumping hundreds of millions of dollars on people being stuck on NAU. And then we have to find those costs that comes from the existing working class and middle class. You're going to destroy the working class and middle class if you keep pulling sources from them every time government spends something over their budget, or they're still trying to sustain NAU without actually getting people employed. If you look at the current demographics, we have just enough people retiring where government can actually give people Seneco at 60 years old. You have roughly 6,000 people retiring out of a population of 65,000. That's a very manageable number. You have about 15,000 people between the age of 15 to 0. That's enough kids that you can identify they're going to have to need jobs in 6 years. You can start to put educational programs in place to capture these kids so they can have jobs. More people means you have to create more jobs. We're not creating more jobs, we're just creating more people. There's no more homes being built because the building code has now put it rigorously over our heads to be able to own homes. The cost to own land is gone over our heads, and the cost to build is gone up. So we have to reduce the inflation, the cost of living, before we can even think about increasing the population in this country. Let's remember, the Cayman Islands is for the Cayman people. When you get the Cayman people back on their feet and get them stabilized, then we can talk about expansion. Until we fix our country's problems, we have to pull it back, spend less, and be more conscious of what we're doing.
All right. Well, a few minutes left, Bill. Maybe a few seconds even. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Justin?
My thing to Northside is that on April 14th, you're going to have to make a decision. The decision you make is for you only. No one can bully you. No one can buy you. No one can push you. Your decision is based on what your conscience tells you is right. You've heard all the candidates. You've seen the debates. You've gone to meetings. It is time for you to do your part. You have to decide the future of this country. And on April 14th, you know the resumes and the criteria that is needed for the job. You've seen the resumes of the applicants. It is your time to be the employers and steer your own country forward. Voting for someone who has maturity, integrity, experience, knowledge, and humility is going to be very important. And I hope on April 14th that Northside gives me the chance to bring this country to a better future and for a better tomorrow. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Amen. Well, Justin Ebanks, candidate for Northside. Thank you very much, man, and have a very safe and enjoyable rest of the afternoon.
Pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Right, it's an honor. With that, we'll pause and call it a day for today, but we invite you to join us again for more talk today, right after the midday news and midday meditation. Sometimes our eyes and our hands wander, and sometimes our feet take us where our hearts want to be. Well, in which day, I always say, save the flavor of the dark chocolate as I look for it eagerly. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Royal Fidelity Bank and Trust, money at work.